Hey everybody, I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I got a brand new guest for you guys. I got Anthony is here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Anthony. I currently am living in a van, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and then went to college in Virginia. Met my wife, and then I went all the way down the coast to Florida, where it was nice and warm for the past few years. And I had been doing just normal, regular 9 to 5 jobs after graduating college, but never really being satisfied with it. So eventually started doing Amazon FBA because I had been doing some soccer reselling just because I had been playing soccer for a while. And so I did that on eBay just for a little bit and realized that you could probably scale that up a little more with Amazon. And I wanted to make YouTube videos, which is, I guess, the third thing. Those kind of hit the three things in the title: the van life, Amazon, and YouTube. Because YouTube is really what I wanted to do and helping people with money, business, and things like that. But I needed to leave my job in order to do that because I was just overly stressed out about it. And so reselling was the fastest way that I could do that. And so now I make some content around that. And I think I missed one thing. No, I think that's it. Who, what, where. That's just the regular rundown. So I'm open book.
Okay.
So any questions are good.
All right. So cool. So Anthony is he's a full-time reseller. You full-time reseller on Amazon, full-time YouTuber and content creator now, and you're also a full-time van life. So those are going to be the three things that we're going to try to touch on real quick. So first of all, I want to get into how you got started into reselling, and then I kind of
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what your occupation was, what your 9 to 5 job was. So if you don't mind, getting into the weeds a little bit, and telling us your story.
Yeah, for sure. The first time that I got into reselling was back in high school. I did it just a tiny bit because I was starting to play soccer and didn't really want to spend a lot on soccer cleats because if you play soccer before, like you can buy $50 cleats and they're not good, or you can buy $300 cleats and they're amazing. But on videos and some people posted online that you could find those like really, really nice cleats at like Burlington's and Marshall stores. So I started going there just to look for them for myself. And once I picked them up, I was like, if I'm buying these, someone will probably buy them from me for more. And I started looking up comps on eBay. And that's how I got started on eBay and just did very minimal stuff, basically only soccer stuff on eBay from like the end of my high school career until I started uh, actually probably just a couple of years ago, like maybe a year and a half. That's what I did even all through college and then through when I started my professional career. And it was just basic eBay stuff, making a couple bucks here and there while I tried other odd jobs to make a life for myself that I was an income independent of working for anybody else. But I went to college. I got a degree in basically international or cross-cultural communications called global studies degree and a minor in business because I was always really interested in business and I wanted to work for myself. I never wanted to have to work for anybody else. But I met
Right.
my wife, who right now we're parked at a Planet Fitness because we live in a van, so she's in the gym. But I met her, and getting married, you got expenses to just be a person and live. So I wasn't able to make the income for myself already. So I started working initially at Enterprise Rent a Car, which because I had like a business minor, I don't even think I needed it. I think I just need like a beating heart and to answer their questions correctly with a suit on when I went to the interview. But I got a job in their like management trainee program. And during that
Right.
time, I started trying to build my YouTube channel and just make videos like really basic things about money, budgeting, investing, everything that like I thought was important for people to know. But the content itself wasn't very good, so the channel didn't start to grow very quickly. And so, but I grew the ranks at Enterprise. And if you know anything about that culture, like you're working a ton of hours fast. So I got promoted after about a year and I was the assistant manager. And so I started working on average about 55-hour weeks doing something that I like dreaded going to work every day. So not only like
Right.
physically was I tired because I was walking 5, 8 miles a day, but also emotionally and like just all my creativity was gone because I just wanted to get home and just watch TV, go to bed, and go back to work. And so
Yeah.
eventually, in February of 2020, I quit that job, went on a cruise to celebrate, and started a new job at a bank. Because I was like, if I'm going to be doing content around money or trying to do that, maybe I should just do something in the money realm. But the role that I had was very entry level. I was half the time being a teller, half the time being a banker, just like selling people checking accounts. And it was a fine job. It was 40 hours. It wasn't hard, but the manager that I had like took their job way too seriously and like put really unrealistic expectations on us. And like it was a pretty toxic just work environment overall. And so that killed my creativity a little bit. And I was like, man, I got to get out of here. I really just want to be creating YouTube videos. And I have this skill of like buying soccer cleats and reselling them. And because I was in that world, I've heard of Amazon FBA before. And so I decided to give it a shot. And I basically spent one night that I was just like, I'm done working here. I stayed up all night before the next workday, which is probably not something you want to do when you're already frustrated at your job. But I stayed up all night just watching YouTube videos about Amazon FBA and decided the next couple months I would start trying it. And so I started trying to sell a few books and then also selling just some retail arbitrage because that's what I was more interested in than the book side of things. And I did most of this like with credit cards and got my first shipment in. It was $650. I know all this because I just shot a video that is going live actually right now, 4 o'clock, about how I did all this with credit cards. But I did $650 of a shipment, and then it got in 3 days after I sent it, and $212 sold. So I knew I was already going to get back like $100. And so I was like, okay, I'm going all in. And so I just spent as much money as I can get my hands on Amazon. And from September 3rd is when I made my first sale, and I put my 2 weeks in at my job on November 8th. Mostly because we were super frugal. Like we could tell we're pretty minimalistic. I mean, this is where we live. We live in a van. We don't have a lot of things now. We didn't even have a lot of things then. That's literally everything that we own. And so because my wife was making 2/3 of what we needed to live, I only needed to bring home $1,000 from the reselling business. And that was something that was manageable. And I built up to that point after about 3 or 4 months. And luckily we haven't had to dip into any savings, but I had been saving since I've been working at those jobs for those 2.5 years. And that's pretty much the story of how I got started selling on Amazon and why I'm now able to have put more time in my YouTube channel and finally start making money off of that, which is initially what my plan was anyway. So it's all come full circle, which is really cool.
Yeah, so Anthony, I'm a recent subscriber of your channel, and you're really highly intelligent person. Don't take this the wrong way, but for a reseller, you're really highly intelligent and you're very creative. And I really like that what you do with the whiteboard. Like I was watching your video today, and you were showing people like, look, guys, here's my gross numbers where I made $10,000 in gross sales on Amazon, and then you're like, here's my fees that's being taken out. Here's my cost of goods. Because I make a video, I do the same thing. I'm like, here's the eBay fees. Here's my cost of goods. This is what we're actually left with, this little small pile right here. And out of this small pile, this much of it's got to be reinvested back into your business so you have products to sell for the next month. So anybody can post on Instagram and be like, oh yeah, look at my awesome sales I made this month. But you break it down in a very like open and honest and realistic way. And you have this like, I don't know, you always seem to be in a good mood. And you always have this like charismatic type of personality when you're on camera. I'm assuming that's the way you are usually, but I got to put you on the spot real quick.
For sure.
Okay. When you talked to your wife and was like, hey, I know you're not going to like this, but I'm quitting my safe, secure job at a bank, and I'm quitting my job and I'm going to go buy stuff on clearance, and we're going to sell it on eBay and Amazon. And oh, by the way, we're moving out of our nice cushy house and we're going to go live in a van. Like, what? I just got to find out like what happened, because like, I just got to get to the bottom of this, man. So did she freak out? Did you guys have an argument? Like what happened?
Honestly, not really. So one of the things that was kind of good about our relationship, it was hard at the beginning, but we started off because I was in college in Virginia and she was in Orlando. We were long distance for the first like 8 months, and like we got engaged during that time as well. And so like we just had a lot of long conversations and not like anything else. And so that helped us to develop some pretty decent communication skills that we're now learning, since we're living in 80 square feet, aren't as good as we thought they were. We have to always get better. But luckily, one of the first things that she told me when we met was she wanted to live in a van, and I thought she was crazy. So that part of the equation was all like, I'm all about it now, but I wasn't then. And so like telling her that we wanted to live into a van, that was not a problem for her at all. And it was more of having to prove that like I can make enough income. Luckily, like since I had been interested in money and finances, our budget was pretty good. We had an emergency fund that was just over 3 months of our expenses. And we had, because we'd just been trying to max out both of our Roth IRAs for the past year and a half and get a 401k match, like we had like $24,000 invested just over the first 2 years of like us just working in the workforce, even though we like maybe brought home together 60 grand just because we didn't need to live on a lot. And so having all of that put away was a nice little safety cushion. And on top of that, we had the savings that we were saving for a house, which turned into being for a van. And that I was like, hey, Chris, this was a little bit more of a conversation. I was like, hey, I need to take home $1,000 to make sure that we can cover our budget every month. What if this $9,000 that is going towards your dream of buying a van is instead used as an emergency fund so that I can leave my job? And luckily, she's very like, she's very emotionally mature, like way more emotionally mature than I am. And so because of that, she's like an empath. She understands how I feel. She understands that like me working at those jobs was like really hurting my soul, my productivity. And so she's like, oh, I understand if you feel like you need to leave. We logically, she could see like we had the backup plan. We had an emergency fund plus the additional emergency fund, which was our house fund that turned into being the emergency fund for my leaving the job. And luckily, like we're in the van now. We've never had to pull anything out of it to cover monthly expenses. And yeah, she's the best. So it
All right.
was an argument. It was great.
Okay, cool. I got to give a shout out to some people here in the chat. First thing I want to give a shout out to Mile High Hustlers. It's the first person here in the chat. I want to give a shout out to Greg. Cherry Picker Flipper is here in the chat. Says, what type of items do you sell? And I want to give a quick shout out to Yard Sales and Dreams is here. So tell them a little bit about. And I wanted to say, hey, real quick to Barbara and Yard Sales and Dreams says, nice to meet you, Anthony. I'm assuming you guys are traveling as well. And then we have a question about a course for Amazon. So we're going to tackle these questions one at a time. First, let's hit this one up. It says, what type of items do you sell? So I saw you posted a video on your YouTube channel talking about how you do a master class of reselling at Marshall's. But where are some of the stores that you like to shop at? And tell people a little bit about your business model, because you primarily sell on Amazon now, right?
Yes. So I actually stopped doing eBay a while ago, and so I'm not necessarily one of your eBay addicts, so I don't know if like you need to like slap me or something for being on your show, but I appreciate you still having me. So what I did mostly like shoes and stuff when I did it on eBay. And on Amazon, if you guys sell on Amazon or if you're aware of it, there's like a whole gating process. That's one of the toughest things to get over. And I personally have never applied to get ungated through getting invoices. I've always just waited for Amazon to approve me to be ungated. And a lot of that was helped by the fact that getting started, sports and outdoors seems to be like a relatively open category, unless it's like apparel. So like sometimes socks that I sell are for some reason in sports and outdoors, but I sold mostly like fishing gear, hunting gear. And like I was even able, my first shipment, to sell like Rapala fillet knives. I don't know why they let me send in knives, but they let me do it. And so I sent in mostly fishing stuff. And that's still the majority of what I sell is in the sports and outdoors category. But I will basically sell anything that I find on clearance nowadays, and that's just become a more and more things as I've sold more, and Amazon's allowed me to sell various things. But my favorite stores, to go back to the other part of the question, my personal like all-time favorite store is Academy Sports and Outdoors. I think it's only in the Southeast, and I actually just got to go to one last week because we were in the Northeast traveling for the past few months, and they were all over Florida. That's where I spent the majority of my money. That's what's made me the most profit overall. And so I love that store a lot. And then a big second is Walmart. And most of those are because I don't have to take any labels off, because taking labels off sucks. But recently, if you are doing stuff on Amazon, another category that I don't think you need to be ungated in very much is the office supplies category. Excuse me. And Staples. I didn't go to Staples for like a year. And then recently I started going there, and their clearance section is great. I have not walked out of a Staples with less than $100 of like spend that was higher than 100% return on investment. Like I probably make over $100 an hour when I walk into Staples every time I've gone, which was really impressed me. I'll just walk through the whole store. It takes me like an hour. And like, I did not expect it to be nearly that good, but it was just by a UPS store when I was in Rhode Island dropping stuff off. And I was like, I guess I should try this. Someone in my comments like a couple months ago was like, you should go to Staples. And so I did. And I'm like, I will go to every Staples that I see from now on. But those are the main stores. Ross, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls are my next favorites. And then Burlington is at the bottom of the list because they cover all the barcodes really well. And I hate taking those off. So that's why.
Right. We got a question here. It says, how are you guys doing? You recommend any courses to start selling on Amazon? Who do you think is legit to buy the course from?
Yeah, Carlos, I personally don't recommend getting a course. I think there's plenty of content online. Like, obviously, I think you could check out my channel if you're interested in just a bunch of stuff. You have to do it a little piecemeal, but I'm pretty sure Reezy Resells has a free course on his website if you just want to get like the very basics. But I think that there's enough to like get the basics down. And I think like putting more money into inventory that ends up being like maybe bad buys would be even more helpful, because if you're going to spend $500 on a course, if you just put that $500 towards like just going out with some knowledge that you like bootstrap from YouTube and picking up inventory, then you'll learn, hey, this is a good buy. And even if it's a bad buy, like you won't lose all that money because you'll probably like be able to sell it for something, or like worst case scenario, you lose that money, and instead of spending that $500 on a course, you probably are going to get the same level of education, like listening to podcasts while you're sourcing or watching YouTube videos, and then actually like physically getting the products. But everybody learns different. So if a course would be good for you, I think Reezy Resell has a free course, but he's good. I like Fields of Profit. If you're looking at like doing a lot of scale, he has some good content about doing more online arbitrage stuff. And those are some of the people that I think are pretty good in the Amazon space.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how you learn. I'm one of those people that got to like learn the hard way and bang my head up against the wall and screw up and make mistakes. And when stuff starts costing me money and I start getting like customer returns, or, you know, if I have, you know, if they start saying, oh, we're flagging your account, or you screwed up and you shipped out the wrong package, that's when I start paying more attention. So I would say watch the, you know, YouTube University. There's probably hundreds of people that are right now that are on, you know, that are selling on eBay and Amazon. You can just kind of be a bird on their shoulder and follow around with them and watch what they're buying. Watch them go to the clearance section. Watch the items that they pick up, you know, especially on Amazon. Look at the sales rate. Look at the Keepa charts. It'll show you how many of them sold so often. So that way you can get an idea and then just kind of mimic them. Or better yet, I would go to one of these reseller meetups if you have a reseller meetup in your town, and find somebody that's already like a full-time eBay or Amazon reseller, and then take them out to dinner and then go like job shadow them for a couple days. You know, that's what I would do. Instead of spending $500 on a course, find someone like Anthony or someone that, you know, that's their full-time gig and that's all they do is ride around doing retail arbitrage, and find someone in your city where you can pick their brain and ask them questions. I'm sure they have free meetups probably in your town, maybe once a month or every 2 weeks. And you'll be surrounded by a whole group of people that will be there to answer your questions. Now, I got to ask you this. What like convinced you guys to move into this van? Because I know I get it, like here in Tampa where I live at, like the rent right now for like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment is like over $2,000 a month. Like we were looking at this apartment complex the other day, and it was 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, and the rent was like $2,800 a month, almost $3,000 a month just for rent. And that didn't count water and electric and cable, internet, you know, all the other stuff that goes with it. So what kind of convinced you guys to be like, you know what, we're going to move into this van full time? And we had a question in the chat. Wanted to know if you guys are traveling as well, if you and your wife travel in the van.
Yeah, honestly, that was the main thing that convinced us. I mean, one of the things that first got me like my ears perked up, because like if you remember, my wife was the first one who was interested in actually moving it. She's like, this is something I wanted to do for a couple of years. And I was like, why would you voluntarily want to be homeless? Like that was a very insensitive thing for me to have said, but I was a kid, so doesn't excuse it. But I was like, that was my thought process behind it. And then I started like looking at what the numbers would look like compared to rent and utilities. I was like, oh, this is a lot more interesting. And then I got more on board of like, we could live from anywhere, travel to do all these cool things. And like I would not have been able to, I don't think in my life I would have seen some of the stuff that I've already seen in these first 3 months that we've done this, just because like it's just a new opportunity. And so that's mainly the reason why we did it. The rent doesn't hurt. Like all in for the whole van, like buying the van, doing the maintenance. We just put another $4,000 into it because we had to get some stuff fixed when we were in North Carolina last week. But all in, we're like $28,000 or $29,000 spent. And luckily, like too, it's not an appreciating asset, but because van life is something that I think is going a little bit up in popularity, we could probably sell this van for $25,000 when we're done with it in a couple of years. And so like maybe, and even if it's only 20, maybe we lose $8,000 over 3 years. That's 36 months. So that costs like $300 a month for your place to live. Like that's phenomenal. And you don't have to, and so like that's better than the $1,400 we were paying for our apartment plus utilities back in Orlando. And so that's less the financial side. And then the fun side is like yesterday we were parked at a national wildlife refuge and like was able to just kind of chill and hike and wake up wherever we want to. Yeah.
So what if you wake up in the middle of the night and you like got to go to the bathroom or something? You just like park in front of like a Planet Fitness that's open 24 hours, 24/7, and you can run in there and go to the bathroom and take a shower and all that, and then come back out and sleep in the van. And do you have any problems with police or security knocking on your doors or knocking on your window in the middle of the night? Or have you had somebody saying, hey, you can't park here, you need to leave? Have you had any issues or any crazy stories you could tell us about?
Only one knock, which is nice. So for the bathroom question, we don't have a dedicated bathroom in here. We have like various emergency measures, and we'll leave it at that. That like if we need to, we can. But it's not that hard. we haven't found it super hard to like just hold it to get to public amenities. And like we've been lucky enough to sleep through a lot, except there was one time in Richmond a couple weeks ago. I think I ate something bad and like I was up, it was 25 degrees and I had to like go behind some bushes and like just threw up my whole stomach. And that was not fun. And it's just like, it's your life, you chose it, and like it just sucks. But also like the day before we were able to just go spend the day in Shenandoah National Park, and like
Yeah.
we wouldn't have seen that if we weren't in the van. So like it's definitely a trade-off. I think I forgot the second half of your question. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, we're gonna take a break real quick, and I want to say hello to some people in the chat who's hanging out with us. Prisoner Prophet is here. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's here in the chat. Great. I wanted to give a shout out to Yard Sales and Dreams. Says Anthony, do you go to thrift stores, traveling and all? Says I like garage sales and thrift stores myself. I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Mo is here from the reseller niche. Tactical Z is here. Says hello. Says Anthony has some great videos. And Barbara is here, and Carlo. So if you guys have more questions for our guests, drop it in the chat. She wants to know if you like to go traveling to thrift stores.
I personally don't. When I first got started, the reason is mostly because of like how I prefer to resell. One of the things that I most recommend for people when they start reselling is like do something you're personally interested in. We live like very minimalistically, and so I did do a lot of thrifting growing up, and like I think that that'd be something I could be interested in. But especially living in the van, like we try to buy stuff that may be a little more expensive now, but it's going to have like multiple uses, or it's going to like last us for a very, very long time. And you can get those things thrifting, but it's a lot harder. And so personally, I haven't thrifted in a while, and so it's just not a space that I know. So I don't go and do that to make money, because the purpose that I got started reselling was to start like making money on YouTube and building up other income streams and like buying back my time. And for me personally, it would just take me, it's too much of a learning curve for me to get into now, since I already have like these things that are relatively established. I'm interested in like doing it just to see if I would be any good at it, but I don't do the thrift stuff personally, unfortunately.
All right. So Anthony, what is more of like your long-term goals? Because you said that you guys only plan on traveling in a van for a couple of years. So I'm assuming at some point you and your wife want to settle down and get like a white picket fence house and have a couple of kids, or what's like your long-term thinking here?
Yeah, you'd think that. I'm not sure if that's our plan. So we love international travel, and so we right now. So like, if we're just, let's talk about the business side and the life side kind of together, because they're they're not inextricable from one another. So on the more business side, I started reselling essentially just to make YouTube content. When I started making content on YouTube though, and like really getting serious about it, I made one video about reselling, since that's what I was doing to make money, and it started doing a little bit better than some of my other ones. And so I realized if my goal was to help people to like leave their jobs and get like freedom and an income that they want, and like just to understand money better, the context that I might do that in maybe isn't just some like white guy sitting behind a desk talking in front of a camera. It could be going out and like reselling, and there are things that you could teach about money and about leaving your job that are just like much easier to do that way. And so I started pivoting more of my content towards that, and that's what helped me to grow. And so I don't plan on stopping reselling anytime soon, especially, but I'm transitioning more of my reselling into reselling only for the content, because the content is starting to actually support me better than I thought it was going to. And once that gets to the point where I don't have to pull any money out of my Amazon business, I'm going to try to do more like challenges, because then people won't have to risk their money seeing if something is a good idea to do. They can risk my money, and because I'll have an operating budget for that. So if someone's like, I wonder if this would be possible reselling, they could comment that and I can go try it. And if it's a total dud, then they won't have to worry about it, because I'll have wasted my money and they wouldn't have wasted theirs. So that's where that's going. I plan on YouTube and like making content and becoming like, and getting an audience is something that I want to use to make the most of my money long term. But then that will transition into, we also have another channel about our travels, which is much smaller now. It's called The Story Travelers. And we're starting to post some content on there. And once we leave the van in 2 or 3 years, we're thinking about doing international travel instead of buying a house, maybe buying and renting, maybe just having money invested in stocks and other assets. But we're thinking about going and stationing ourselves in Southeast Asia, because I did a study abroad in Sumatra when I was in college. And we're thinking about going and staying in Kuala Lumpur and doing a lot of travel throughout the Eastern Hemisphere. So we'll see what happens. So that's just a dream right now, to be honest, though. But so is the van.
All right, so you never know where life's going to take you, bro. You never know. So hey,
Yeah.
I want to get into since your YouTube channel is a lot about business and reselling. I want to pick your brain. So if you could kind of elaborate a little bit on Amazon reselling, because I've watched some of your videos, bro, and you walked in and walked out and did 3 hours of retail arbitrage and make 400 or 500 bucks in a day for like 3 hours worth of work, and you
Yeah.
make it look easy, and you get to travel across the country, so that's always cool. It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you ever watched Bearded Vicar, where he would travel and look for Amazon stuff, and then he would be in his hotel room and scanning stuff in with his like little Bluetooth scanner at his laptop. So he
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of that, just because the way you guys travel and you're out looking for stuff, and then you just send your inventory into the Amazon FBA. But talk to me a little bit about your strategy with Amazon, and you were showing your analytics, your numbers, where you were doing like $10,000 a month in gross sales on Amazon, which is cool and all. But then you kind of talk a little bit about what are some of the other, subscriptions that you have,
Yeah.
Amazon fees, cost of goods. So can we break that down a little bit, and you can talk about that to our audience, because that way we can talk about that, because there's a big difference between $10,000 a month gross and then net what you actually bring home after expenses.
Yeah, for sure. So I have like 100 video ideas that I'm working on right now, and some of them are series. And one of them is a series about what it actually means to be a six-figure Amazon seller. So here, I'll show my camera right now. This is just my Amazon. These are the last 12 months. I am a six-figure seller, 103.2 thousand. But if you're here closer to the beginning, like I only take out $1,000 a month. And the max that I probably could take out would be like maybe 1,500 if I wanted to like continue paying off inventory. And so on $1,000 of gross sales, like the net profit after all my expenses and after I save for taxes is really only like maybe $18,000 to $20,000, depending on how good you're doing it. And that's just here. I'll just break down real quick. I'll take out the whiteboard because I love the whiteboard, and I always have it on deck. But like if we're looking at gross sales of $100,000, then Amazon fees are probably the majority of the portion of that. And for me, they're anywhere from 40 to 45%. And so that's probably going to be like 45 grand if we want to be a little conservative. And then on $100,000 of sales, because I have specific rules for buying inventory, where I essentially want to spend my money on things that'll at least get me a 50% return on investment, but I try to find 100% or more. And the more money that you have available, the lower you can get that return on investment number, because spending more money and making some return on investment is better than not spending any money at all. But the problem is if you have limited capital, which is what I had when I started my business, because I did it all based on credit cards and I didn't want to like blow my debt out of the water. And so I was only allowing myself to spend about $3,000 per month. And so I needed to get that at 100% return on investment. And so I passed by a bunch of stuff that was really profitable for other people to pick up. But because I had those rules and because I didn't have a lot of money, I needed to be that little. And so on $100,000 worth of sales, the cost of goods sold, or COGS, and so how much I spent is probably right around $30,000 to $35,000. And so that is pretty much what that $3,000 per month looks like. And so that already is going to be like 75 to 80 grand just in Amazon fees and cost of goods sold. And that just gets you to your gross profit. And so if we want to be as generous as possible, we'll say we'll have gross profit of $25,000. And from that 25,000, you have a bunch of different things that you need to do. You need to pay yourself. If you want to pay yourself, if you have other income, then putting it back in the business will definitely help to grow it faster. You need to pay yourself. You need to pay taxes when you pay yourself. You need to ideally operate the business, because that's not included in Amazon fees, like various subscriptions that you might have. And then there's two other things that I personally do that you might not. And one of them is put money in profit. I see paying yourself and profit as a little different. Profit I see as I am rewarding myself for owning the business, and paying myself is just paying myself for doing work in the business. And then the last thing that I do is retained earnings, which I'm going to put RE, which basically just means that we're saving for bigger purchases in the future. But the main three are just paying yourself, paying taxes, and operating the business. And this is going to take a lot of that money. So from the $25,000, operating expenses do come out to be probably $200 per month, maybe a little bit less. If we break that down like specifically to what I use, I have an inventory software called Inventory Labs, which helps me to save a lot of time in my management of my business, as well as sending in shipments to Amazon. And they have an app that helps me source. That one is $480 a year if you buy it on the annual basis, but it's $50 a month. So I'm just going to put 500 here. as a space in between the two. And then you're going to have a repricer, and that one can be anywhere from $15 to $100 a month. The one that I use is $100 a month because I like the AI repricing, and I have seen the benefits of that. And then I also still use Scout IQ, which if you do books, you know what that is. I think you had the maker of Scout IQ on a couple of days ago, and I use that mostly because it has an ingrained Keepa chart on the app. And so you don't actually need Keepa because Keepa is $24, but that's only if you need the chart. It doesn't give you any of the other benefits of Keepa if you're doing online arbitrage. So I have that. And then you also have like just regular shipping expenses and other expenses. Like if you want to buy a Bluetooth scanner, if you need to upgrade your laptop, those are all going to be just like shipping and miscellaneous. And that for me, I put at like $40 or $50 a month. And so monthly, you're spending almost $700, which is going to be another like $7,000 to $8,000 of that 25 grand. So you're really only left with, we'll just call it $18,000. And from that, you have to pay taxes and pay yourself and save for the future of the business, which some people might not need to do. And if you're like really lean, you don't have to. But don't forget to save money for taxes, because this is something that a lot of people like really don't do. And then come tax time, they're like, oh, why do I have a $2,000 bill? And so I always overestimate what I save for taxes. And so whenever I pull money to pay myself, I'll take 30% of my owner pay, and I'll put that in an account that I never touch that goes to taxes. And so from this, probably about $4,500 is going to be for taxes, and the rest of it, the $13,500 that's left, is going to be what you could pay yourself. So if you're looking at take-home pay on 100 grand, it's probably going to be around $13,500, which is right around that $1,000 that I take out every single month. And that's based on my rules. But I mean, if you're doing well over 100% ROI, that's going to be hard to beat. So that's it's crazy how small that number gets when you actually look at what it costs to run a business on Amazon.
See, and now you guys know why I subscribe to this guy, Anthony. You know, he makes entertaining videos, and he actually has a whiteboard and crunches numbers. Because if you see, like, you may say you make 10 grand a month in gross sales, but you know, as you show, you're going to take, I don't know, a third of that, so probably 35% of that, and you have to have that capital to reinvest to buy more inventory for the following month. Yeah. So hey, if someone is new to Amazon or they wanted to get started in Amazon, what would be like your top 3 tips or piece of advice to help them if they're getting started in Amazon FBA, or maybe they're on the fence? Because a lot of our viewers are eBay sellers, and the ROI, like if I go to the thrift store and I buy an item in the bins for $1 and it sells for $50, like even after you take out your cost of goods and your eBay fees and taxes, like your rate of return is way higher than Amazon, because you know, you're paying the fulfillment fees, you're paying storage fees and all that. So what would you say is your like top 3 piece of advice if someone they watch your videos, they see you walking in, walking out, grabbing profit at Walmart clearance, and they're like, hey, I want to be like Anthony, you know, what would you tell them?
Yeah, specifically if you're like watching the videos and you're like, wow, that looks easy, like for every video, like you see how long it takes, but the biggest thing is you're gonna have to scan everything, like especially when you're getting started. Like I have a scanner that I just keep up at the front here. I don't think I can grab it while I'm still plugged in. Oh yeah, I can. But it's like I got a Bluetooth scanner and it helped me to scan a lot faster. But either way, you just need to make sure that you scan as much as you possibly can, because first off, you don't know what's actually on Amazon. You don't know what sells for profit. But the more you scan, the more opportunity you'll have. But I think before that too, like my number 1 tip is it's really easy, especially on the internet, and like we're all on YouTube right now, and it's really easy to get like a big comparison syndrome. So if you sell on eBay or you thrift or you sell on like any Facebook marketplace or Mercari, and you don't want to sell on Amazon, but you're like, oh, there's so much opportunity, like the FOMO isn't worth it, especially if it's not something that you actually want to do. I always get caught up in seeing what other Amazon sellers are doing. I'm like, wow, I should sell exactly like them. It's like, wait, what I'm doing is serving me. Like I only have to work 10 to 20 hours a week doing my Amazon business to make that much. Like I could make more, but I don't want to. And knowing what you want to do in your business, like how you want to work, and then what you want from your business, like what you want it to do for you. For me, it was like moving into the van, building up my YouTube channel. Those are the things that I want my business to do for me and what I want to do in my business. And knowing that helps me to orient my goals and say yes and no to the correct things that won't cause you to burn out. And so that's the second big tip. The third big tip would be just get started, and it can be really small. And while you're getting started, just pick up tips from a bunch of content that you see online. If you have questions about it, there's probably an answer on the internet, but don't go on this Amazon seller forums, especially if you're doing retail arbitrage. Like that place is a hellhole. No one, the seller forums are the worst on Amazon.
Well, you know, the first thing that everybody always says on Amazon is says, I'm gated in everything. Everything that I want to sell, I'm gated in. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's like the first thing that, you know, the first hurdle that we have to overcome. But hey, I want to catch up with the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Carlos says, hey, can you put the YouTube channel of Anthony? I believe it's in the description. You can go by and follow him in the description. He says, any other channels that you recommend to learn more about FBA? Do you have any that you recommend?
Yeah, funnily, I don't watch a lot of reselling content. I'm more like the business or money side of things. But the channels that I would recommend that like I've interacted with relatively personally, like through DMs, would be ones like Fields of Profit. He's a guy. He's in college still right now, but he does I think 50 to 100 grand a month in sales on Amazon, and his like ROIs are lower than mine, but his volume is way higher, and so like he's making pretty good money. Fields of Profit, he's on YouTube and Instagram. He does mostly online arbitrage, so buying stuff from stores and shipping it into Amazon. And so he has some good stuff. And then there's also a guy called The Flipping Accountant. He's based out of Alabama, and he does a lot of stuff at Walmart, a lot about video games and Legos. So everyone that you find is just going to be pretty specific to things. And then the big people like Reezy Resells, he's always out there, but he hasn't been making a lot of content recently. So for like a subscription that you're going to get more content from, maybe not, but he has a lot of good old content too.
Yeah, there's a ton. I would go follow Richie Hustles. He's out here, and if you want to actually be like a bird on his shoulder, he actually takes you with him to go and look for deals, and he's out here, you know, honestly, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. That's his full-time gig, is reselling on Amazon, and he'll actually show you deals that he's finding and what he's looking for. So I mean, that's 3 or 4 right there. The Flipping Accountant is another good one. Phoenix Resells, I think he sells a lot on eBay and Amazon. Chase After the Right Price. That's a few right there. I wanted to give a shout out to Laura. Laura is here in the chat. Candy is here. Prison to Profit is here. Wanted to say hey to Triggs is here. My buddy BK from the Rockies is here in the chat. Wanted to say hey to Checkmate Flips is here. Says I just subscribed. Hey, thanks for subscribing to our guests. And Texas Treasures is here. So now I wanted to get into real quick and talk about your YouTube channel. Tell people a little bit about what kind of content you make on your channel and what they can look forward to seeing on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure. So I make a lot of content right now. The main like silos of content, and how I think about it, like if you think of like a silo that has like one has like barley and one has wheat. I don't know fields, so if this is wrong, I don't know. But it's different silos of content that I do. The main one right now is more towards reselling. But since everyone has like their own little take on reselling, I don't want to just like go into places and like show you that these are things that I'm picking up, because I don't think that reselling is necessarily what most people want to do with their lives. Like it's I think of it as a stepping stone to a lot of things. Like I talked about a little earlier, like what do you actually want to do? Like are you passionate about, and what are you good at, and what can you make money from? And if that is going to take a long time to get to, like you can resell to get yourself there. You can resell to get you to a financially independent place, income independent, not financially independent. So you make your own money and you set your own hours, and then you can work on those other things a little bit easier. And that's what I use reselling to do. And so a lot of it is like reselling content, like very good, like just tips about how I resell and what I do specifically. And I'll just like take you along with me into the stores. I try to like be as authentic as I can. So I'll break down like any questions that you have. I'm always in my comments. I don't think there's an unanswered comment on my channel, and like I'll try to break down as much as I can in depth to help you with any specific reselling stuff. But ultimately, I don't think that reselling is like the end all be all for people. It's just the venue that can get you to what you want. And so I also make content that's just about overall like how to grow a business or grow some income for you. And then all of that leads into the reason that you do that is so that you can financially be good with your personal finances. And so I am starting to get back to creating more content about personal finances and how I've dealt with that to make sure that I'm set up like now, and making sure that I don't go into further debt, and like I'm able to do the things that I want to now, but also for the rest of my life by saving and investing. And those are the 3 main types of content that I create. But anything that you want, like I'm always open to suggestions. I love to try to test my creativity. So
okay, cool. We had a quick question from Triggs in the chat. Says, do you just sell on Amazon? So do you want to touch on that one real quick?
Yeah, for sure. I just sell on Amazon right now. I used to do a decent bit on eBay as well. And if you go back on my channel, probably to May, June, and July, I have some content about eBay and even like why I stopped selling on eBay. And most of it was just like personally like just what I was talking about a second ago, like what worked for me. I think that there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of ways to make money. But for me, especially since I was moving into a van, like I live in a van now, I'm in a driver's seat that we have on a swivel. And since I was moving into the van, I couldn't have a big amount of inventory, and I was keeping a big amount of inventory in my apartment. And so I needed to liquidate all of it. And so I returned some of it, sold most of it, and got all that money out of it because I can't really ship stuff to people. So for me, it's just I'll pick up stuff. I have enough room in the back of my van to store a couple bins of inventory before I do a shipment and send it into Amazon. But then I don't want to do any of the fulfillment process. So as little as I can deal with here in my space, that's what I need.
Yeah, Triggs, he lives in a van, so it's like it's hard for him to have 10,000 items or something in his house. Yeah, he's gonna show you. This is where he lives. That's his bed, that's his sink, that's the countertops. Like he literally lives in a van. So there's nowhere really for him to store eBay merchandise. So
yeah.
So hey man, where are you guys going to be traveling to during the holiday season? Do you guys have any particular plans as far as your traveling with van life? Go ahead.
Yeah, so right now we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're leaving tomorrow. And we're gonna go visit some family in North Florida, and we'll probably stay in North Florida for a while because first off, we're gonna visit with some family. We got a new niece, so we're really excited to go meet her. And then I'm also a Florida resident. I was in Orlando, and that's where my permanent residence still is. And so we are gonna be just like in Pensacola area for a while. And since I'm a Florida resident, you can do free shore fishing. And so I got my fishing poles up here. I actually built a build out for them because one of them doesn't break down. It's too long. So it goes all the way through these upper cabinets to the back of the van. So I'm excited to spend a couple days and like get to fish. And then I think we'll be in New Orleans to get some beignets on Christmas and just kind of, we're not doing anything with family this year, which is the first time that we've ever done that for the holidays. But I mean, Chris and I are the family there, and it's just it's been a weird season, but a good season. So we're excited for the travels that we get to do.
All right, cool. We got a question from Texas Treasure. It says, since you live in a van and work from a van, are you able to write off your van as an expense?
Unfortunately, I'm not tax pro, but I like been debating this with the person who does my taxes. Not like a hardcore debate, but it's been something that's like, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see. I'm able to write off tons and tons of like what I do. Like if I'm driving between cities, like first off, I create content in all the cities that I go to, but we also create content about our travels. And so because of that specific YouTube channel, I think we might be able to write off the whole van. Either way, we've already driven like 12,000 miles in the past like 3 months or something. Maybe it's only 8,000. It's a lot of miles. We went from Florida to Cleveland to Maine, all the way down the coast, and now we're in Georgia. So we've driven a lot since September, and almost all of that are business write-offs. And then most of the stuff that we buy, like if we eat food out, a lot of times, if we're working while we do that, or I'm shooting videos while we do that, that's going to be a business travel meal. And so it's a weird thing that I'm trying to debate as much as I can to get as much written off with my tax guy.
Yeah, and well, for sure, you can at least write all your miles and stuff off that you're traveling for sure, and oil changes and tires and all that stuff. So, hey, man, I told Anthony before we went live today, guys, I was only going to try to keep him on for around 45 minutes, and we're at 43 now. So, Anthony, tell everybody where they can follow you at on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, just my name, Anthony Bodanza. You probably see it down right here, I think. But that's just what it is. I'm at AMBDNZA, basically AM, my middle initial, and then my last name without any vowels. On Instagram, I don't post there a ton. I'm trying to post there more, just more personal stuff and some stuff with my stories wherever I'm at. But like if you're in the community or you want to meet up and I'm on the road heading your way, like I've met up with some people before who have just reached out from seeing me on YouTube, and it's been awesome. So yeah, I just appreciate the honor of being asked to get on here with you, man.
Hey, for sure, and hopefully we'll have you back on again sometime. You're basically like a digital traveling nomad. When we were, it's like you get, what they always talk about, those people that's like can go to like a Starbucks coffee shop and like live everything off of their laptop. And it's so cool because you can pull out your app on your phone and be like, okay, how did I do on YouTube this month? How did I do on Amazon? And then look and see. And I just think it's really cool. And also you get to travel. So I think that's awesome, man.
Today I had, so this is a new camera backpack that I bought when we were in New York City. And so I'm trying to open it real quick. It's basically my whole studio goes in here because I have all my stuff. I have a second monitor in here and a monitor stand. So I was just posted up at a Chick-fil-A from 8:30 this morning until 20 minutes before we got on this call, and just editing videos. So like literally exactly what you're talking about. That's what we do most days. We'll just be at a coffee shop for like 6 or 8 hours because they got Wi-Fi. We have good internet, but yeah, it's wild.
That's awesome. Yeah, guys, I am a subscriber of Anthony, so you guys should go follow him. All the links for his YouTube and Instagram is going to be down below, and his channel is taken off. So especially if you guys get the chance to watch him, I really like his talks with the whiteboard when he starts crunching numbers and breaking down numbers and a little bit of personal finance. You want to see him, do the whole van life, retail arbitrage, and shooting content. It's like a 3-in-1 special. So go ahead and follow our guest. Anthony, do you have any final thoughts that you can leave our audience with? And then we'll let you go, buddy.
Yeah, just one last thing. Like this month, I'm doing videos every day. So if you need something to watch daily, just getting back on that horse. But whatever you're trying to do with your business, like as long as you make data-driven decisions, like you understand your numbers a little bit, you can definitely get there and just set those goals. And so it's just really, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, for sure. Yeah, go ahead and follow our guests, guys. I will see you guys later. I'm going to be off from YouTube tomorrow, but this is going to be our guest coming up on Saturday, Checkmate Flips. He's a full-time eBay and Amazon seller. He just quit his job recently within the past year. So he's going to be dropping some knowledge to help you guys out, to teach you a little bit more about what it's like, the life of a full-time reseller. Till then, you guys have a great weekend, and I will catch you guys later. Be sure to follow our guests. All the links are down below, YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. Till then, we'll catch you guys later. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye, guys.
Bye.